Hey guys, welcome to A Counselor's Journey to Private Practice. I'm your host Juan. I'm here with Yalily Smith. She is a counselor with a practice located in Florida. And today we get to pick her brain all about starting a private practice. And I'm really going to push her to tell me some of those mistakes that maybe she has made so that all of you out there are like, yes, I can avoid that and I can utilize the ones that do work to move forward.
Hi, Juan. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, no, this is one of those moments where, from that end, it's like, I appreciate the opportunity. And then from here, it's like, no, please, I appreciate the opportunity because those clinicians out there, they're going to get some tools. So tell us, who you are, what got you into the field.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I was born to be a therapist. I've actually been like the therapist my whole life. So I just figured, hey, let's make some money out of this because I'm tired of people just using me. So um, I really honestly thought I was either going to be a lawyer or I was going to be a therapist. That was it my whole life. 6 years ago, I got my master's degree and I tried to start a private practice. I was young and excited and totally flopped it so horribly bad. So, uh, about a year and a half ago, I decided to give it another shot. I licked my wounds, I learned my lessons, and decided, let me try it one more time and see if I can do a little bit better. And this time around, it's actually really stuck. So I feel really blessed that way.
Awesome. Or earlier when you were telling me how you got into the field, I was like, that should be in some kind of college pamphlet. Have you always felt like you should be a counselor?
It was literally like, how they say you take those Myers-Briggs tests and your
Yeah.
personality profile, what your job is, like right there, it said it. That's what I should be. And I was like, yes, I agree.
Nice. So a perfect fit. I'm really curious about something. I'm curious about like going back. You said 6 years ago you tried it out. I
Mhm.
want to know your mindset. What was it like 6 years ago when you were about to, go into this journey of private practice versus about a year ago?
Yeah. So 6 years ago, I was very naive about what it took to have a private practice. I thought, hey, I have a master's degree. People are going to want to talk to me. Um,
Why
so,
wouldn't they?
right,
Yeah.
um, but I was solely focusing the therapist brain. I was not really, I really hadn't had a chance to develop the business brain. So you really got to have a little bit of both to have a practice because you can be an awesome therapist, but if you don't know marketing, if you don't know developing a niche plan, seeing the 3-year projections, talking to investors if you have to, like if you can't, negotiate a lease, if you can't go into that mindset and you're just like, oh, I just really want to sit down with people and help them, it can really come back to bite you.
I just kind of want to take a moment and pause because I mean you said it so perfect. Developing those two mindsets, clinician on one side of the book,
Mhm.
entrepreneur on the other side of the book.
You
How did
gotta
you
be
build
both.
a relationship between these two sides? Because I know sometimes clinicians out there, it's either like, well, I don't want to charge too much money because then I feel like a dick. And I want to
Right.
help people. I want to help people who are in marginalized populations. How did you build this relationship from these two, I get sometimes just two different sides?
Very much. I actually still struggle with the idea of charging people. When I first started as an MSW, you don't get a lot of insurance coverage. Most insurances don't want you on their panel when you're just a registered intern or when you're a MSW. So I was thinking, oh, I can just do cash. But when you're doing cash only, it has to be very, very realistic that unless you have like a really valuable niche, whether it's the immigration cases, for example. The immigration cases don't get paid by insurance, but it's such a huge need that people are willing to pay the cash for it. But to just do psychotherapy, you're gonna have to do just bottom prices, because there's so many options out there that you can get for insurance. And so people only have to pay a small copay. So when I thought about, like, that was one of my biggest downfalls.
Mm-hmm.
It was, well, I don't have a choice of insurance. So number one priority for me when I started my private practice was, I need an awesome billing team behind me. They're more affordable than anyone can imagine. It seems scary to hire somebody. You're first starting, you don't know how to be an employer, whatever. So it seems scary to hire, but you have to have a strong, supportive billing person. Um,
How did you reach that level where I look back and I was like, yeah, it was scary to hire a billing team because I got
mhm,
to pay for them. And then I'm hoping that someone not just calls the office, but they show up and
mhm.
that I get paid. So then I could pay this person to bill and I could still make some kind of return on the investment. What did you do to work through that math?
So the good thing about the billing teams is that most of the time they get paid on a commission level. So you want to find somebody that charges on commission. And so the billing team that I have, for example, they'll charge me an actual charge for credentialing services, which is about $75 per company, per panel, which is very affordable. There's a lot more out there that are like 150, 125. But then for just regular billing services, they only charge 3.4% of what you actually make.
Okay.
So it's like, if I make zero, they get paid zero.
Yeah.
If I make $20, they get 3.4% of that.
Okay.
So that's the kind of stuff that you're looking for. You're looking for, originally, I swear, if my biller hears this, is I'm gonna be in trouble. But originally, so my biller is actually, they're very new also. They have experience, but has private billing company. They're new also. And so they sent me the contract. And this is where that business mindset has to come in. I looked at the contract and I was like, yeah, no, that's not going to work for me. I can't, they wanted some money each month if you couldn't meet a certain amount. And I called them and I was like, this amount of money that you're asking, there's no way I'm going to meet it. So I'm going to be overpaying. So I can't work with this. I'm going to have to shop around. And immediately they were like, no, 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 no. Like, let's work together. Let's figure it out. And that's where the business mindset has to come in. You have to be realistic with yourself. Like, can I afford this? It's great that people are nice, very professional, but can I afford it? Or do I have to go someplace else?
Yeah. Were there
So
any resources that you turned to for developing that business mindset?
I really, I took a lot of, I sort of tried to learn from others a lot.
Perfect.
I observe and I focus on. So prior to having my own practice, I was a clinical director for a different company. And this company actually hired me to develop their mental health department.
Oh,
So
wow. Awesome experience.
that right, that was great experience because I could use somebody else's money, you know,
Yeah.
and and develop it using somebody else's money. Um, so that helped me a lot. But learning from past mistakes, like, I learned a lot about what not to do from my previous nonprofit, from my previous therapy practice. I learned a lot about what not to do when you market.
Share some of those. Let's pull like 4 or 5 of what I learned.
So, okay.
And you can start there if you want to start with the marketing.
Okay, so the very first thing that I learned not to do when you're marketing is don't pay for marketing. Don't pay for a marketing person. Don't pay for TV ads, radio ads, like crazy Facebook marketing, Google marketing. Don't do that off the bat. They can get very expensive. I paid like $400 a month for marketing through the radio when I got my other business, and I had like 2 people call me in months.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I completely wasted so much money. With my current practice, what I did was I signed up for Psychology Today. Psychology Today charges me $27 a month, and that's how I started. That was it. And that's all the marketing I needed, because everything else was me knocking on doors. So where the marketing really happens is when people see your face. So I started going to to networking luncheons.
Okay.
Think about it this way. Other businesses want you to know them as much as you want them to know you.
Yeah. Very well
So
put.
right. So just as much as Juan wants to interview Yalily, Yalily wants Juan to interview her.
Yeah.
So don't think of yourself as who's going to want to talk to me. I'm small. I don't really know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about that. They want you to know them as much as you want them to know you. So breakfast, there's exchanges of business cards, and there's all kinds of things that you can participate in
Mm-hmm.
that'll take you 1-2 hours couple of times a week, gives you a chance to put your face out there, gives you a chance to talk. Maybe you bring a gift, $25, but you do that, say twice a week at $25 that you're spending, so that's half of what you were spending in that radio ad, and you're really getting your face out there.
Yeah. How
So
did you decide who to pick, right? So you got your area.
mhm,
How did you decide, okay, these are the individuals that I want to communicate with, I want to show my face to, because
mhm.
that's going to lead things into a funnel, right?
Yeah, because you don't want to burn out, because you can burn out just as much from going to these meetings as it is from not. For me, a big part depends on my niche. So, for example, I actually have therapists that go directly to assisted living facilities. That's one of my niches. Is we provide emotional support with residents in assisted living facilities directly in the facility.
Wow.
So I wanted to be sure to go where assisted living facility marketing people
Yeah.
are going to be. So if an ALF is doing a symposium on dementia, I'm going to be there. You know,
Yes.
if if they're doing a holiday party, I'm going to be there. The next thing is, if you have a specific niche, look for the events that go with that. Do you work with elderly people? Do you work with children? Do you, is it immigrant community? Is
Yeah.
it, LGBTQ? So look for events that target that population.
You're doing your market research very well.
You have to.
I love that. It reminds me of I forget which book I read, uh, but it had the guy from, I think, the CEO of Starbucks.
Okay.
And when the business wasn't doing too well, he would travel to all the different Starbucks and talk to the customers, put himself out there. and
Mhm.
it helped to build the brand to keep things going forward. As you
Yeah.
were saying your strategy, one thing that I know I utilized in the past and continue to is where I'll look at my area and then I'll get a spreadsheet and I write down like 100 people or more that
Mhm.
I want to communicate with. And I put a huge number on there because I know that maybe only 5 may hit me back up, but those 5 can more than likely lead to supporting the practice and building it forward.
Yeah. Another I don't know if there's a lot of people out there that are doing assisted livings or anything like that, but something that I found that helped, particularly in assisted livings, was I used patients that I already have that are looking for assisted livings, and I would tell them, don't worry, I will go and tour for you
Hmm.
and do you that service, but at the same time it gives me an opportunity to be face to face with people that actually want to talk to me.
Yeah.
So same thing with psychiatric hospitals.
Hmm.
So not all psychiatric hospitals are nonprofits. A lot of them are for profit. So what do? You go in and you ask for the marketing person, or you ask for the patient advocates,
Hmm.
and you go in and you say, I'm kind of looking for a psychiatric hospital to coordinate with whenever I need to Baker Act, or whenever I have a specialized patient that is complex enough that needs to go into a facility. They want that business.
Yeah.
So if they know, hey, this therapist has people that could potentially end up making us thousands of dollars,
Hmm.
I'll talk to her. So in the marketing strategy, you wanted to look like, hey, I'm bringing you something that you really want from me.
Yeah. I like that too because it shows, you're putting yourself out there and you're building trust, you're building a relationship, and more than likely, just like you and I are building a relationship, it builds trust and it increases our likelihood that I'm going to refer to you or send you something, and then same way here.
Yeah.
it, and I think about going back to graduate school, we're taught to, in a way, build relationships from the clinical aspect, right? You've seen a
Mhm.
patient, they're on medication, you write a note, right? A letter, formal, of course, to the psychiatrist, just letting
Right.
them know that you got to release some information and that, they're engaged in treatment here, which is great, but it doesn't hit that mindset of an entrepreneur, which is exactly what you're doing. You're going out there and saying, hey, this is me. I want to
Hmm.
get to know you. Let's break bread.
Right. Exactly. And something that can you see me okay, by the way?
Yep, I see you good. Yeah.
Something that I have learned, actually, from watching people who are in the marketing field, actual marketing experts, something that I have learned is they're very good at inviting you over. So if you have a great office, or if you're in a building that looks really nice, or if you, like, for example, this room looks incredibly bare because I just moved to a huge suite. We're growing into a lot of offices,
Awesome.
and all
Congrats.
my furniture is all over the place. So I'm like in a room just like,
You're like, don't judge me.
I know. I swear I have better taste than this, but but once the suite is decorated and things look nice and all these different things, guess how I'm going to market? I'm going to market by saying, "Hey, it's so awesome to see you. We have to get together. You should come and do a tour. That way we can talk about you."
Hmm.
That way we can talk about your services.
Yeah.
Come on, I'll show you the clinic. We can sit down and you can tell me about your services. So that person's like, oh my gosh, she's interested. She wants
Hmm.
to know about me. And that's where the psychological part comes in, where the clinical part comes in, but at the same time, the marketing part. So
Yeah.
I've learned that from watching people in the marketing field.
Yes. That my brain went to Walmart and Target when I go in. I hit both sides. My wife, she's very much into Target. which those of you listening out there, you probably
Good
know
thing.
why. Yeah. But you go into a Walmart and sometimes the lights are not as dim, or they're dim, right? It's a little darker, maybe not the best customer service. Whereas you go to Target and you're like, hello, Disney World, right?
Mhm,
Is lit up, it looks nice, it's clean. People are like, hey, do you need some help?
mhm.
And clinicians, it's a great marketing strategy. Put a, I was gonna say ice cream machine. Don't put an ice cream machine in your office. Put it like a little Keurig or something like that, or a small fridge. Make it look presentable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You need to have the look, uh and something that I live by pretty much the last year and a half, 2 years, I've really lived by this. You have to move in the direction that you want as if you already have it. So, typical thinking of the law of attraction.
Yeah.
When it comes to marketing, when it comes to growth, when it comes to your practice, have a vision. Think, okay, what's my goal for? And this is another mistake that I made. Going back to the mistakes, is I wanted to run before I even knew how to crawl. And so I had this vision in my mind, but it was so completely unrealistic
Hmm.
that I went out and spent thousands of dollars, got this big office, got this big marketing ads, and all these different things. And I had no customers to pay for it. So you want to have a vision of, okay, what am I going to achieve this week, in a month, in 6 months, in a year, in 3 years? And you literally start moving in that direction with a plan that's measurable, that's,
Smart goals. Yeah.
start moving in that direction as if it's in my hands already. It's there, it's happening. So I think that's actually one of the most important things I learned
I love
was,
that mindset. Yeah. You ever read Think and Grow Rich? The book.
oh yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. As you're saying it, I'm like, I bet she read that book.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah, it's you're right. You built the foundation. You built the yellow brick road that's going to lead you to
Basically,
Oz and get
yeah.
you there.
Yeah, so for me, I had big dreams. When I started my previous practice, I had big dreams, but that was all they were. It was just dreams. Right now, as it stands with my current practice, every single week, every single week, I have a big board, a whiteboard. And every single week, I'm looking at, okay, these are how many referrals I received each day this week. This is how much money each therapist made this week, each patient brought in this week. This is my average income per patient for the week. And then I set a goal. Okay, so this is what I made this week. What's my next week's goal? And then what's the projected goal for next month and the next 6 months? Because when you really, really want to take a dream and you want it to turn into a reality, it has to be something where you can look at it and you can actually measure it.
Yeah, I love that. And it's something where I think a lot of clinicians out there, I'll raise my hand and say I was one of those. I had no idea what those numbers looked like. I mean,
Yeah.
I said, you know what? I had a full day today. So it feels like things are going in the
I
right
know,
direction.
right?
But having something tangible where you're able to look at it and doing it weekly, I mean, you're building a system that maybe tomorrow it could be sold or you can hand it off. It's beautiful, and those learning, hopefully you're able to pull these really nice nuggets that Yalily is providing today. Share with me or with us one more nugget. I could have you on here for days. I feel like I'm diving into a book that should be titled like
But
like
like 100 things not to
yeah,
do.
yeah. You know what I'm talking about? The one says like 100 or 1,000. You just want to keep reading because after each one, you're like, damn, this is good. Ooh, I like this one. I'm about to put this one into play.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Juan. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And let's see. Do you want any more?
I do. And
Okay.
tell me, the one I'm curious about
Okay.
is more with your mindset.
Uh-huh.
You seem to have this strength with your relationship with money. You gave this example earlier where you were like, I got the contract, and I was like, no, this
Yeah.
doesn't, this doesn't resonate well. And clinicians going into private practice, right away they're gonna have to lease a space. That has to do with money. They're gonna have to say, do I want to do insurance? And if I do, that has to do with money because they're gonna probably have to reduce your rates compared to out-of-pocket fee. I
Mhm.
mean, money is just something that a clinician has to build a relationship with, and
Mhm.
and hopefully a healthy relationship if they want to be
Yeah.
able to have a successful journey.
So you actually the first thing for me was I actually started from a home office. And the reason for the why I was able to do that was because my original niche was actually doing therapy in people's houses. So since I was going to facilities and I was delivering therapy for people who were end of life, for people who were chronically ill in their homes, I was also doing it for young kids who couldn't make it to the office because they had to go to school and stuff like that. So because of that, I did away with the office. But honestly, I looked at what are my pure essentials. You have to have an office because you don't feel safe going to people's houses. No problem. You want to go the traditional way? Fine and perfect. At the beginning, how about you share an office? You and another therapist set up times. It's not like you're going to start with 100 patients.
Yeah.
It's taken me a year to get to 100 patients. So when you first start, tell a fellow therapist that's probably paying buku money for an office that there's no way that they can use 24 hours a day. Tell them, hey, I'll give you half and I come in these days, or I come in the mornings and you come in the afternoons. Whatever, set something up. So that's the first thing, is try to figure out a way where cost effectiveness is priority. The second thing is, whenever you're going to set up things like phone service, internet, anything like that, they want your business. My phone service here at this new clinic, I got 10 phone lines for free. The phones were free. Okay, that's a $1,200 savings. You know why? Because the competition was offering it for free and these people wanted me more. And not just that, they gave me 3 months of service for free for 10 lines. That's all I had to pay for was shipping. Did they offer me at the beginning? No, they didn't. They wanted me to pay like $2,000. But I told them, I said, listen, there's like 4 or 5 different places that I'm looking at. So and so offers me this, so and so offers me that. Can you do better? And
Mm.
they were like, sure, we'll beat the competition. And they did. And now I have faxing, I have video conferencing, I have 10 lines, all of it, 3 months free, $280 a month.
After this interview, you're going to get a lot of phone calls from people saying, I'm going to hire her as my negotiator.
I know, right? But it comes down to you have to look out for yourself. You have to remember these businesses, they want you, because maybe they saved me all this money at the beginning, but I have a contract with them. So these $280 a month are going to more than make up for that excess bunch of telephones that they have in their warehouse
Hmm.
anyways, that they're getting for a dime each one. Who cares? They're not offering you anything that they can't afford to offer anyways. So you got to think about, okay, this company wants my business. What can I afford realistically? You got to be realistic. So saving in office space by sharing, you can save in phone line by only getting what you need.
Hmm.
um, I do not use traditional fax. My faxing is all online. So I receive my faxes via email.
Okay.
And that saves me a ton on paper, that saves me a ton on ink. And it's $7 a month, for goodness
Yeah.
sake.
Good
And
deal
I
there.
and I get my faxes anywhere. So something else, again, the marketing, you don't want to overspend on that. Um,
I think,
anything
I
that,
think, no, I was gonna say, I think you hit the nail on the head. That, I mean, that's perfect. So it seems like whenever you look at the relationship with money, it's being able to build first a relationship with yourself. What do I need? What does
Mhm.
my practice need? Being able to create some sort of documentation system of, this is what we need to move forward. Here's step A all the way to step Z. Do I need a fancy office right away, or can I start a little bit small and then build going forward?
I want to just say one more thing because I'm sorry that I didn't mention this from the beginning. I should have mentioned this from the beginning. Probably the most essential thing that you need to do before you start anything is you have to have a business plan. You have to write down a budget and you have to have a business plan. So I wrote down how much are business cards going to cost me, how much are flyers going to cost me, how much is it going to cost me to do therapy notes, which is the software that I use,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I wrote that, like each thing, and then I totaled it, and then I calculated, okay, so how many patients do I need to see to make up for this every month? And I know, because then you're thinking about, this is office and this is practice, and then here's my budget for my house because I have
Mm-hmm.
my own personal bills. You have to be able to pay yourself. In When I first started, I did the whole thing. I did the whole budgeting, and on top of that, is because I was starting slow and taking my time. I took really, I took my time. I went ahead and had a part-time job while I
Mm-hmm.
was growing my business. And my boss knew that it was for a short period of time. You know, she was aware that eventually I was going to face off.
Yeah.
Um, but I had a part-time job that helped me pay for my private, bills.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to have a budget for what your bills are going to be. Can I afford to do this move? And then you have to have specific budget for how much you're going to have to spend for each and every single thing.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I think, that's something that we need before we go forward. I mean, it reminds me of even graduate school, right? Before we jump in and start taking our courses, we sit down and have a plan of study, right? And
Mhm,
all the courses written down, and we're like, okay, semester one, semester two, all the
mhm,
way there. We even look at budgeting. We'll have scholarships, grants, financial aid, loans, by paying out of pocket. We do the same thing in our education, in our clinical field, which is awesome because it means that clinicians already have the skills to
mhm.
create a business plan, to look at budgeting. It's just transferring those skills into this area.
Yeah.
Yalily, thank you for being here. Before you jump off, before you dive off and get back to the things that are important in your life, share with those listening how they can reach you, how they can contact you, in case anyone is looking for maybe support, consultation in their private practice journey.
My email is travelingtherapist1, all one word, the number one, at gmail.com. There's also my Facebook page. You can message me there. I Heart Therapy is our login, or you can look up the traveling therapist. And my actual number is 321-246-7075. And you're always welcome to leave a message or text. If I'm busy, I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You guys hit her up. Definitely, I think she's going to help you move forward.
I'm
Thank
going to
you,
try
Lily.
my best.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Thank you, Juan.